Queen Chioma, who's here today. She's a PR and media expert from the UK. She's also a motivational speaker and a TV presenter. So thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to talk about how people can use PR and media in their business.
Thank you so much, Brittany, for having me. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm really excited for this interview today.
So for someone who's new in business and who's struggling to get visible, I think this is something that, you know, for online business owners, they really overlook how they can use media and PR in their business. Can you give us a few tips, like those first steps that they could take to really get visible?
Great question. I mean, I think it just needs to be that they need to really want it, like decide to have PR and media in their business, decide to start with doing a little bit of research on it, start to not see your brand as so small to the point that you don't think you need it. Like, don't think that you need to wait to get to a certain point before you actually have some PR and media in your business. Right. So if you start thinking of yourself as, you know, as big as the big players out there, whether it be Marie Forleo, whether it's Mariah Carey, Jennifer Lopez, whether it's that you admire Brian Tracy, if you start to think, you know, what publicity do they have? Like, what are they doing in the media? And how can you have, even if it's just a little bit of local press, how can you have a little bit of media in your business too? Because I think you need to start somewhere. If you ever want to get to the point of being in Forbes or on Oprah show, or whether it be that you want to be on MTV one day, you need to start somewhere. So you need to start right now to start to think about how you can prepare yourself for media opportunities.
Right. And so what would you say for people that, if they're starting out by themselves and they want to pitch themselves, what is the best way for them to sort of find a hook in their story if they're not like necessarily used to having to find the hook in their story?
That's a great question. I think finding the hook in the story would be, I think it would be great to start with thinking about what you've really been through in life. So think about your achievements, think, you know, what have been the best wins you've had, the best experiences that you've had. And then you can think about things such as, you know, the challenges that you've been through and how you overcame them. So I think that you should think about, like, I'm going to give you a couple of ideas of the stories you could present to the media. So it could be something like a hero to zero story, a zero to hero story, sorry. So how you went, let me give you an example. You were bullied, you went through all this horrible trauma in terms of friends that rejected you. Then you finally found the strength that you needed to succeed. And then now today you're this like big time, or you're this like, you know, you've set your own business and now you're helping women around the world. Now, I'm not saying that you need to always go with that cliche story, because I know that sometimes it can seem cheesy to always, you know, to have a woe is me story. But that is still one story that sells. You know, we're thinking about what really does sell. It's a bit like, people know that sex sells, that cheesy stuff sells. And I'm not saying that you should do that to try and sell, but I'm saying think about how you could have a story in that area that you could possibly use in the media, because sometimes you have to start with what actually works and then you can progress on to the things that maybe you feel are more like kind of more meaningful to you. So yeah, I'm not talking about like doing the sexy stuff, but I mean, like, you may need to start with a zero to hero story, and then eventually you can progress into something that the media will just want to talk about, to interview you on just you, and rather than it being some kind of a story.
Right. And is that something that you would do in your line of work? Like, would you help people pick out those sort of defining moments that they can use to pitch their story?
Yeah, most certainly, definitely. So I would like to know, like, what I try to do is I try to find out as much as I can about my client when I work with them. I remember once there was one client that had this experience that I didn't know about, and it was really matching a specific time on the calendar, on the PR calendar. And what I mean by PR calendar is what events are going on in the year. So there was a specific event going on in the year. You know, like when we have Valentine's Day, for example, if I find out that my client has been through something around Valentine's Day, or maybe they got married on Valentine's Day or proposed to on Valentine's Day, that's a story the media will be highly interested in. So maybe they may not get coverage with the entrepreneurial story of how they went from how they got to 6 figures in 6 months, but they may be interested in how they found love on Valentine's Day. And that could be the hook. Or it could be that maybe they've had a situation where they, they did something really powerful for Mother's Day. One of the Mother's Days, they actually gave 52 roses to mothers around the world or something like that. I know it sounds cheesy, but they did that, and they might be like, wow, that's so powerful. This is the story we want to use. So I'll give you an example, even with my own self. I remember a lady, one of the editors contacted me, and they didn't contact me straight away when I sent off my proposal to be in their newspaper, in their magazine. But she got back to me and she was like, okay, I would love to feature you. This magazine is very kind of educational / business. I really need to know a bit more about you. Like, I need to know the angle I can use for this magazine picture. And I was like, okay. And then I told her that I do the pageants. She said, no, I don't want to know about your pageants. I told her I do TV presenting. She goes, no, I don't want to know about that. Anything else? What do you do? Tell me more about you. And I was like, I do. Okay. I also do motivational speaking. I help young people to succeed. I was at university. That I had moments where it wasn't really going well. I turned that around and I ended up getting 2 degrees. And she was like, that's the story I want to use. She goes, I want to use that story. I don't want the rest. I just want that. And that is what the media is like. I feel like you kind of need to know what you've been through, know your challenges, know your strengths, know even the small things. Like maybe I used to be in the skipping team. You could use that as a hook to be able to speak somewhere to young people, because you've got this talent of being a former genius when it comes to skipping. So it could be that you know how to bake pancakes, and then you could use that for pancake day, and you could be in the newspaper and talk or cook with one of the professional chefs out there about pancakes. I don't think that being in the media always has to be so heavy and it has to always be about a story. It can sometimes be just to be about like your gifts or talents.
Totally. I love how you kind of align past experiences or present experiences based on like what's actually happening in the calendar year. Like I would have never thought of that. And because those would probably be the buzzwords, like those would be the things that would come up probably in search engines. And yeah, that's great. What would you say if someone pitches to the media and they're not taken right away? Like, should they insist? Should they try and repitch or find a different angle, or just let it go? How would you?
That is such a great, I love that one, because that's the one that people sometimes are afraid of. I think the best thing I would say, if I'm going to give you some really powerful tips here, I would say have a spreadsheet, do lots of research, spend an hour or 2. It could be an hour or 2 a week, or just an hour or 2 in one sitting, and find all the magazines, all the newspapers, all the TV shows, the web shows, blogs, YouTube channel, whatever it is. Find a combination that you feel like that you would love to be in or on. So podcasts you want to be on, TV shows, blah, blah, blah. And then I would say to pitch to quite a lot of them. If you get rejected, if you don't hear anything, I would say that one of the reasons why you might not hear anything is if you email the wrong person. So if you email, for example, if you email the main editor, I'm not saying that you can't get a response by emailing the main editor, but it will be better to email the assistant editor, in my perspective, because the main editor is really busy. So it's better if you go through the avenue of an assistant editor, then they can actually talk to the main editor. But then like if you don't get through and you've sent another place to send your email to is go directly with PR, marketing, and also if they have like a specific person in charge of a specific field, like maybe you're a fashion blogger, then go with a fashion editor or someone that's in charge of fashion. But one of the reasons why they may not really get back to you is if your email is too long, if it's just like way too long, or maybe it's a situation where you have attached all these things, like you've attached all your photos, you've attached your PDFs. They don't want all of that. They don't want they only want it when they ask for it. So once they respond to you and say, yes, we would love to interview you, or we want to hear more, then you can now follow up, because now they're saying that we're inviting you to actually talk back to us, where we want to have this dialogue going on. So then you can send over your press pack, or whether it be photos or testimonials. But what I tend to do, if I don't hear anything from them, I follow up about 2 weeks later, or I follow up to a month later, like maybe a month later. If I still don't hear anything, I may follow up again, maybe a month later. And if I still don't hear anything, then I may do something like if I just feature in a magazine or a newspaper, I will contact them and say, oh, just to let you know, I just featured in this newspaper. I would really love to feature in yours too. Or I would just forget about continuing to follow up with them. I will just warm up to them on social media. So I would just be liking things of theirs, commenting, and just saying, I might even leave a comment saying, oh, I love your latest picture. It's just amazing. I sent you an email before. I hope to hear from you very soon. And I would just keep warming up to them. But I would just move on eventually as well. Like if I don't hear anything for a very long time, I would just move on and trust within myself that they will come back to me at the right time when they feel that it's the right time. And I will just continue with that big list I have of all those other shows I have on my spreadsheet and just keep pitching to them. And eventually somebody's going to get back to me, whether it's like 4 or 5 of them, whether it's 10 of them. But if I put all my eggs in one basket, I could be disappointed. So you could be disappointed if you put all your eggs in one basket. Keep on hustling, looking for more opportunities, and take the opportunities that come your way. If somebody says you can speak at a school, don't say, oh my God, why would I want to speak at a school? That's so rubbish. Like, why would I want to do that when I could be on Forbes? Like, try and start with the small things. Even if it's like a blog, a friend's blog, start there, you know.
So one last question. You mentioned this word press kit. So for someone who doesn't know what that means, like, can you tell us what it entails, what it's made up of, and how they can gather that together?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I mean, I think there are different ways of having a press kit, by the way. So some people would say that your press kit would be, for example, all the different media that you've had. So you can do, like, for example, if you've been on podcast shows, you can have screenshots of your podcast shows. You can put that into your press pack. You could have all your articles that you've been featured in, blog interviews, newspaper interviews, press releases, should I say, and then features in magazines. What models tend to do is they tier it every time they feature in a magazine, they tier it out, and it's called a tier sheet. So they put it into a folder, and that's what you're kind of doing. You're trying to build this portfolio. So you have your, so you can have something like that. You could photocopy it, make sure it looks lovely and everything. And then I think it should be A4 size, because most of press is normally A4 anyway. Even if it is like, if you've got the newspapers and they're very big, usually you could get them onto that A4, you know, if you shrink it or whatever it may be. So when you have your press pack, then what you want to do is you want to duplicate this. So you want to have like so many. So that's why photocopying is important, and, you know, scanning things and everything. And then you just want to put it together nicely. You could decide to have your bio with it. You could even also add in a demo as an additional, something the way they can watch you on a DVD. Right. You can be really creative with your press pack. You could come up with something really interesting and be like, okay, here's a copy of my book, here's a DVD, and here's my all the press I've had, my bio. And then you could send that out to different newspapers, magazines, TV shows and everything. But you can also do a digital version, which could just be a combination of your press that you've had, and you can just put it into a PDF, and just the front of the cover page could just be like Brittany's media coverage or something like that. It doesn't have to be so deep. It could just be quite simple. And there are many ways to do it, but I guess that those 2 ways are quite like fun and creative ways to do it in a way that can get their attention.
Right. That is so interesting. See, I didn't even know that myself. And I think that's like really valuable information, because I think people are generally intimidated by the media, so they don't reach out. And I just think, especially, you know, nowadays with so many people becoming self-employed, I mean, you really have to, you know, the tactics and strategies we used before aren't like, they just don't work anymore. And you have to find more daring and bold ways to get yourself seen. So
you mentioned such a good point, because I feel like people always like, because we've been so conditioned into thinking that we must use social media, we need to be in Facebook groups and posting, we need to do webinars. We have lost touch with reality in terms of the fact that these companies, these media brands, they actually do things in real life. They go to real events, they speak to real people, and they're reaching a real audience, and they want to be able to read something in there. Like, they want to be able to print something out and actually pick it up and read what it is. And I feel like sometimes we think that they just always want something digital. They may actually want you to post something to them. So try and use like the traditional and non-traditional ways of marketing.
Right. so much. So wrapping up, how about you tell us a little bit about how people can work with you and where we can find you online?
Oh, thank you so much. Well, basically, you can work with me by visiting my website, which is www.queenchiomamedia.com. Now, I just want to quickly say that there are other Queen Chomas on YouTube or wherever, but I'm the official one, the real one. And I do really want to serve you and help you to achieve all your dreams. And I believe that I can help you to achieve lots of PR and media for business, which I do with a lot of my clients. And I just want to quickly say that you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and everything. I'm trying to point out that there are other Queen Chomas is because you may get confused if you see that you go online and see there is different ones. And I think that's why, in a way, just want to quickly say something about Brittany, that you should also work with Brittany people, because Brittany can help you to have a brand that really stands out. And I feel like if you have a brand that stands out, even if there are copycats out there or people that try to do what you're doing or something, you will always still stand out if you work on your branding.
There are so many Brittany Hammonds out there. Like, I can't even get Instagram name because there's so many Brittany Hammonds. Just wanted to add that in.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad that I'm not the only one going through this. Yeah. So at the moment, I've got like my mastermind that I'm actually putting out there, which is my PR and media mastermind. And I have one-on-one coaching where I help you to get 52 weeks worth of media. I'm not guaranteeing I can get you in the media at 52 weeks, but what I'm saying is that I'm going to give you the training that can help you to get there. And I also do mini sessions as well, a bit like Brittany. I've got like my my PR and media strategy session. I do some of them for free too. So definitely reach out to me. And I have a 4-part video series, which is completely free that you can opt into on my website as well.
Awesome. And I will provide all the links below.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. This was a pleasure. I've learned so much, and I'm sure that, you know, my audience and your audience can learn a lot. So,
oh, thank you, Brittany. You're wonderful, and keep up the wonderful inspirational work in Paris and all over the world.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.